Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tea Time Data Talk series by Quantitics Academy. So I'm Chu, your host for today. I believe all of us here in the live now are having a common interest, which is data. So perhaps you are not from the data industry or you never involved in any data-related environment, but you are interested to know about it. And that's why we are here today talking about moving towards the data industry, a great shift in my career. All right, so we are very honored today to invite two guests to our live talk to share about their experience on shifting their career to the data industry. So let's welcome Sam, the Managing Director in Daltos. Hi,
Hi
Sam.
everyone. Good morning. Good morning, Chu.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning, Sam. And yeah, let's welcome our second guest, Vanessa, Analytics Specialist in Quantitics. Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, Shu. Hi, Sam. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Vanessa.
Okay, hi. So, yeah, Sam and Vanessa have been building their career in the data industry for years. And before immersing themselves in the data industry, they have actually decided to step out from their comfort zone and make a great shift in their career. So, yeah, hi, Sam. Having known that you are actually a master holder in mechanical engineering, so after completing your master study in the mechanical engineering, you decided to transition to the data industry, right? So yeah, I believe that every one of us in our audience, including our audience and everyone, yeah, this is definitely not an easy decision. So since mechanical engineering and data are really two different words, so we would really interested to know what makes you in the first place choose to enter the data industry, which is not really directly related to what you have studied for years. Yeah.
Yep, Chu. Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me in this talk, right? And also, good morning to everyone who has joined this call. Well, actually, that is a very good question, and that is a question that a lot of people have asked me, even myself, right? Well, actually, there are two reasons. Two reasons. One is because when I was doing my final year project, I was actually dealing with a lot of signal data, because of my final year project, of course, and that actually sparks my interest in terms of handling data, dealing with data, because through digging deeper into data, you actually get to see a lot of insights, a lot of information that is not apparent to what the data itself presenting it, right? So that is where I try to explore more in terms of what data analytics is all about, and that actually sparks my interest to actually shift my career, shift my interest towards the data analytics space. Well, that was the first reason, right? Second reason is actually partly I would say because of job security. Reason why is because I graduated in 2015. That is where the year the oil price was actually kind of going the other way to what we want, right? So that in a way actually is kind of preventing the oil and gas company, or the oil and gas companies actually shying away from hiring fresh graduates. So in a sense, I kind of like an unemployed status when I graduated immediately. So that's where I start to think to myself, is engineering really fit my character and my profile? And right now, it's actually a good chance for me to actually switch to the industry where I'm really interested in and I really want to pursue my career with, right? So of course, being a very resourceful engineer, the first place I would go to is actually Google, right, to search for, an industry that has a growing trend, right, that is in a very infancy stage or very beginning stage in the market, right? So what really caught my attention was the term big data technology, right? Because we know that technology, it's always going to be in the forefront of every market, because human being relies a lot on technology in terms of making their life simpler, be it personal life or even career life, right? Or even in enterprises, right? They would leverage on technology to do advanced tasks that normal people is not able to do. Okay, so that's why one of the reasons why I want to look into technology. And the word big data, really sparks my interest in the sense that we know data is ever growing, right? With the likes of social media like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, these are the places where it's easy for anyone to actually generate data, right? By posting a video, by posting, where they're at, by posting their dinner picture, that's actually generating data. So, with that, we know that data is ever growing exponentially. Definitely we need technology to support, the market needs in terms of processing this huge amount of data. So that's where, I start to look into big data technology. And my first step was actually to look in, to actually transition myself, to a non-mechanical engineering career. So that's how I started.
I see. So yeah, I believe that's indeed a success move in your life, right? So we know that actually Sam is now the founder of Deltos, a company that provides solutions to help enterprise embarking on AI journey. So yeah, it's indeed a great move for you. So to all friends who just joined the live talk, this is the Tea Time Data Talk series by Quadratic Academy, and our today topic is moving towards data industry, a great shift in my career. And yeah, we have two guests here, Sam, Managing Director in Daltos, and Vanessa, Analytics Specialist in Quantetics. So both of them has been experienced a very special change or shift in their career from a very different background to data industry. So for all our friends here in the live, please feel free to comment if you have any questions to our guest. All right, so yeah, just now we have Sam to share his first move to the data industry. Now let's talk about Vanessa. So hi Vanessa. So you are previously an external auditor in one of the big four accounting firms for 3 years. Am I right? And now you are pursuing your career in the data industry, involved in several data analytics projects and presented the multiple solutions as a pre-sales. So it's such a big leap. So I really salute to your change because as we know, Big Four company are the leading firms in the accountancy industry. So while many are dreaming to get into the firms, while Vanessa, you choose to make your move out and join the data industry. So what are the inspiration for you to make this move?
Okay, so thank you, True. And then I hope everyone here joining us today are also doing well in this pandemic and this MCO. So for my case, when I actually decided to, actually what made me decided to leave my previous job as an auditor was because of its long and also consistent working hours. So that has actually really taken a toll on my health back then. So that is when I actually considering to leave my job as an auditor. So my peers who are actually who were also working in audit with me back then, so they were looking for new jobs that are still related to finance and also accounting. So, but for myself, I knew that the job scope for those roles is just not what I wanted. So, so I actually from there, then I actually went on to Google as well. I seek help from Google as well. I go onto the web and look up for what are the jobs that are, I would say, what are the jobs that are in need right now. Yeah, so that is when I actually came across to multiple articles. So just like what Sam has shared earlier on, where we see terms like big data, data analytics technologies, and talking about AI and machine learning. So there are a lot of all of these big terms. And I came across one of the articles, which is by the World Economic Forum. So it actually has listed what are the top demanding jobs in the next 10 years, and also what are the top jobs that are going to be eliminated as well in the next 10 or 20 years. So the ones that are in the top 10 demanding jobs are those that are technologies and also data analytics related. Whereas for those that are going to be, what did I say? Yeah, related, yes. And those that are going to be eliminated in the next 10 to 20 years are those that are related to accounts and also audits. So in a sense, I was also thinking that, so I was still in my 20s, and then I was thinking, if I'm looking at 10 years forward, so I wouldn't want my job to really be at risk. I want a job that, that constantly in demand within the human resources, among companies. So that is what really got me started looking into data analytics role. Yeah, so as I actually researched about it and I looked through about all the articles explaining what does data analytics do and how it actually helps businesses, and I find it was very relevant to what I actually had been doing when I was still in audit. Yeah, so because part of the audit work is to basically analyze the data that we have. Okay, but at that time I didn't know that what I had is actually a data. So because usually we get documents like general ledgers, or we get supporting documents or supporting modules for us to do those analysis. But back then I didn't know that would be considered as data as well, until I actually explore and look up more about what is data analytics all about. So it really triggered me that, we are in this digital era, and basically everything is captured in the form of data. And whoever has, the more data it has, in terms of like for businesses or for organizations, that really will empower them and have like a better position in their own industry. Yeah, so in that sense, I really wanted to, create more values with data analytics, and that's how I started, looking for jobs that is data analytics related. Yeah, even though at that time it's really different from what I have in my own pocket.
I see. Well, that is really impressive. So yeah, we all know that actually data is how the data is leading the world of the digital era, right? And yeah, I believe that is how you wanted to move into the data industry. So as we know, in every industry there must be some essential skills required, right? So yeah, not to talk about data industry, there must be a lot of essential skills. So since both of you are actually new to the data, when first move into the data industry, you are new. So how do you actually prepare yourself to start moving into this industry? I believe this is also what most of us would like to know. So how to start if we are new to the industry? Yeah, perhaps we can have Sam first to share about how do you actually prepare yourself when you just want to move into the industry.
Sure. Well, I think first thing is I think just now me myself and also Vanessa has also mentioned, right? The first step is definitely to do your own research, right? So same goes for me. I've done a lot of research before really looking into what the data space is all about, and I would say there are a lot of information available online, but perhaps a little bit too much for one person to actually handle those information. If let's say you were to actually interested in this industry and would like to switch your career to this data industry, I would say definitely start from researching. But like I mentioned, the risk here in terms of doing too much research is that there will be too much information to digest, and you will be losing track of your direction in terms of where you want to start. This is actually what I went through when I first starting off my career in this data space, right? So if I were to be able to go back in time and tell myself, what way should I do to actually do a better research, or what would be a more structured manner to actually do the research, is to actually split my research into 4 different pillars, right? So I can actually boil down the whole data industry into just a simple 4 pillars, right? So first one is data acquisition, second is data governance, third is data analytics, and fourth is data delivery or data visualization, right? So these are the 4 main pillars in the data space whereby, technologies in the market are actually building around these pillars, because this will actually lay the foundation of any digital transformation journey in order for you to actually, in order for organization to hop on and build solutions that is required for their businesses, right? So that is, how I would advise, if let's say you are one that is new into this industry. And the other thing is that, another perspective is that you can look into what your current organization or team needs in terms of these 4 pillars, right? And then from there, you can actually expand your skill set, right, based on the pillars that's required by your team. right? Because I always believe that, learning on job is actually the easiest way to learn, okay? And that is also how I have went through my journey in terms of transitioning myself from a mechanical engineering background to a more data-related skill sets, and able to actually execute my job within a short period of time, right? Again, the highlight, the point here is that, is to actually identify the gap between what you know, what you already know, versus, what are the skill set required in your company and in your team, right? So that you can actually grow yourself based on the 4 pillars that I mentioned earlier on.
Yeah, thanks. So we know that actually I do agree. So we should actually identify the gaps between what we know and what is required in the industry. So just now, Sam, you mentioned a good idea about the 4 pillars of the data industry. So data acquisition, data governance, data analytics, and data visualization, right? Yeah. So that is how actually Sam you start your career in the data industry when you first step in. So how about Vanessa? So how do you actually make your grad shift from accounting into the data industry? How do you prepare yourself? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So actually for me, when I first get started, so I started with data visualization, which is one of the pillars that Sam has shared earlier on. So because data analytics itself is actually a very big term that can basically broken down into those pillars that that Sam has shared. Yeah, so for me, data visualization is actually much closer to what I have been doing as an auditor, which is basically to analyze the data that I have and able to tell story or basically interpret the data, and eventually I'll be able to get a conclusion out of it. Yeah, it's just that right now on top of that, I'm able to do so more effectively and also creatively by creating charts and also graphs. Yeah, so I mean, another reason why I chose data visualization to start off is also because I like to see colors. Yeah, and I like to be a little bit more creative. Yeah, so data visualization will actually gave me that that kind of opportunity and it's a very great start for me to change from being an auditor to into the data industry. But of course, I also had to take a few online courses to get myself familiar with how to really work with data. And just as Sam mentioned earlier also, I think being able to practice what I learned in the job actually helps me better equip with the necessary skills.
I see. So girls like color. Yeah, this I agree with you, Vanessa. So since Vanessa has been choosing data visualization, right, to start off your data industry career. How about Sam? So which you are starting from? Which pillar you are starting from actually?
Well, actually, I come from the other extreme of the data space, right? And I totally agree with what Vanessa has mentioned, right? Because data visualization is very attractive, right? Because you can see charts, you can visualize, words, numbers into colorful, meaningful pictures, which is very easy for anyone to just digest, right? The information that the data would be able to provide otherwise, right? So, but however, for myself, I'm actually started from a data acquisition kind of a space, right? My first job is actually coming from actually working with banking system, right? Whereby I need to actually move data or migrate data from AS400, which is a banking system, from the old one to a newer one. So it's more towards on the ETL, extract, transform, load, and also data migration kind of a skill set. So it's more towards the data acquisition pillar. Well, then from there, I actually switched my job from my to my previous job, whereby that job actually requires me to be more analytical, right? Whereby I need to involve a lot of projects, including data science, data analytics, and whatnot. So then from there, I again switch my profile, my background from a data engineering kind of a background to learn something new, right, towards the data science space, right? So I think this is actually quite useful in the sense that I would say data engineering or data acquisition pillar is actually building the highway for the data to actually flow from your source system to yourself to actually process it, right? Whether you want to do visualization or whether you want to do data science, right? So that actually laid down the foundation for my whole career. And then on top of that, I learned about data science, right? This is where the more analytical mindset, the more technical mindset in terms of dealing with data comes into the picture and actually generate value for businesses, right? Through analytics and modeling of the data, right? So that is how I transitioned my way from being a mechanical background to a data engineer to now a data scientist.
Yeah, that is actually quite different. I mean, for Sam and Vanessa, you are actually starting from a different pillars. So
Yes.
so it's really important that we have to identify the gaps on what we know and what is required. So the easiest way is actually to start with the closest gap, right? So this is actually what I get from just now your sharing. So for example, as for Vanessa, so you have identified that your closest gap is actually the data visualization. So you are started from visualization. And Sam, you are from the totally different background from engineering, and you mentioned that you found out, okay, so something like the ETL, the extract, transfer, and load is something related to the data acquisition. So you are starting from there. So yeah, it's very critical to identify where you should start from. And easier one is to identify which is your closest gaps. Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, in fact, I do really agree with both of you. There are plenty of resources online. There are articles, there are videos, there are courses, and etc. to allow us to learn all these new skill sets. So, however, an obvious obstacle that I can observe throughout everyone, most of us, is we do not know what to search and how to search for these resources. Okay, there are plenty out there, but it's an obstacle for us to search how to search and what to search. And when we roughly search through the internet, so a lot of unfamiliar words appear in the search result, and at the end we are ended up with a lot of information, but none that I can start with. So I would say actually a simple but great resource is actually to talk to someone who is in the industry. So for example, we can get some mentor in the industry and get a chance to ask questions to them. So, and for example, just now Vanessa mentioned some terms in the data industry like data visualization, and Sam, you are mentioning about a data acquisition, right? So this kind of terms, the ETL, acquisition, and so on. So I believe and I hope in the next time when every one of us, any one of you, searching on the resources in the internet and find the terms visualization, you will recall this sharing, recall Vanessa. And when you see acquisition, you will recall Sam because Sam has shared his terms acquisition to you, and you will feel familiar and closer to all of us. So that is actually how we actually can start from scratch. So talk more to the professionals and get familiar, right? So yeah, everyone, please feel free to comment if you have any questions to ask Sam or Vanessa about the data industry, about how they engage into the industry, and any questions, you're welcome to comment at the comment space, and we will actually answer accordingly. Okay, so while waiting for the comments, let's move into our next questions. So after moving into the industry, the data industry as a newbie for Sam and Vanessa, so what are the challenges that you face at the very first beginning? Yeah, so maybe we will be having a lady first. Yeah, Vanessa.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, I started my career as an auditor. So that means I actually studied accounting and finance and business. As my background. Yeah. So for me, I would say I started from zero, and that is a really huge challenge. Yeah. So while I was still a auditor back then, when we talk about technical wise, it's actually referring back to accounting and also auditing standards. Like we would have, technical issue would be, so how do we actually treat this sort of account, or what is the accounting treatment for this and that, and how do we actually verify that all of this are actually being recorded correctly, and in the end it's true and fair for financial reports. So I actually applied the same mindset to data analytics as well in the beginning. So I just thought that just like accounts and also audit, there's always standards for you to actually go back, and the standards are just that same one set of rules or one steps of, I mean, everything basically is fixed. Yeah, so I applied the same to data analytics, but it's actually very different. So just like what Chu has actually mentioned earlier, when we look up on the internet, there's just so many different kind of things within data analytics. And I mean, for one example will be when we speak about programming language, there's just so many kinds of it. I mean, and each different programming language actually has its own purposes as well. So that really actually, I mean, I was overwhelmed at first. So, but since I actually had nothing, I mean, I would say I started out with nothing. So I just actually got myself into different courses at the basic level. So I just enter into the courses, or I actually look up videos on YouTube to see how people explain about a certain, I mean, I would say spectrum or a certain pillar, just as Sam has introduced earlier on, and slowly learn about it and discover. So these are the requirements for this kind of this area of data, and yeah. So but I would say that previously, even in audit itself, actually we have been dealing with data, but it's just that we didn't know. So the most raw data that I actually ever dealt with is the GL, which is the general ledger. So, but even so, actually the general ledger also came out actually very fine for us already. I mean, the structure is already very pretty, very nice. They're all very in good structure. So although there is still some process for us to actually massage it and to cleanse it in order for us to do our analysis, but the requirements on how to prep that GL and how to use it are actually quite standard. Yeah, it's just so the challenge in the beginning for me as well was that now that I'm in the data industry itself, I'm able to actually see different kinds of data sets, and also different data for different industry and also different purpose. So in this aspect, so it has really opened up my eyes. Yeah.
I see, that's great. Okay, so now we have some questions from the audience. So there's a question to Sam. Okay, so can you know what are the challenges that you face when you're initially starting up your own company? So it's quite similar to what we are having now here. Okay, so perhaps we can have Sam to share about the challenges that you face. Yeah.
Well, thank you for the question. Well, I think first of all, the first challenge was that I started off my business at the end of 2019, December, and 2 to 3 months down the road, as everyone know, that's where the first MCO came in, right? So the first challenge was definitely that period, in the sense that there are a lot of uncertainty that's happening. We are not sure how the market will grow. Everyone is actually holding up their budgets and not spending as much as the good days are, right? So I think the first challenge would be, the market landscape in Malaysia, right? That would be the first challenge. Second challenge is actually more towards, guiding the potential clients to actually understand more about data science, right? Because right now I would say Malaysia as a whole, the data science space is still very at its infancy stage, right? Because generally most of the SMEs, I would say SMEs, are still not ready to move towards the data analytics space, right? Most of them are still familiar with reporting, dashboarding, visualization, right? Which it's very fancy. You can see charts and whatnot. So most of the SME are still there. But of course, that being said, there are still enterprises, large enterprises like telco and banking, right? So these are the two main industry that's driving the data science initiative in Malaysia. And we would actually we'll still see there are some kind of a lag between SMEs and those industry leaders in terms of digital transformation adoption, right? So that is also the second challenge where I see that most of the businesses in Malaysia still need time to groom and allow them to actually grow the knowledge of data science and data analytics requirement for their business.
I see. Yeah. Sam, I can see your excitement. I can feel your excitement when you are talking about the world of data, Okay, so yeah, we have some more questions from the audience. So yeah, Fu is interested to know about what actually Daltos, which is a company from Sam, the startup company from Sam, do, and also what Quantetics do. So perhaps you can have a very brief intro about what you are doing right now. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So basically, what Daltos is providing is that we actually provide three things, right? Three things. So first is the software itself, the technology itself, whereby we believe in technology. Like I mentioned earlier, right? Data is always growing, and we definitely need technology to actually help us to process those huge amount of data, right? So that is the first thing that we actually provide. Second thing is that we provide services in terms of helping our clients to actually use the technology and actually build a foundation, right, for their initiative. And from there, they can actually grow their initiative on their own by laying down that foundation. And in order to help the clients to actually build their own initiative, well, that's where the training comes into play, whereby we provide training to the people to actually learn about the tools and whatnot, so that they can actually self-sustain, right? They don't have to leverage on third-party vendors or whatnot, right? So they can actually self-sustain and making them, building up their initiative and projects much more quicker, right? Time to market is always an issue. So that's where, our value comes in, right? To bring, value to the customer so that they can actually drive their own digital transformation journey. And we are here to handhold them to kickstart the initial phase, right? And of course, one more additional value is that, we are actually looking heavily into cloud migration, right? Because we know that, cloud is definitely the future, right? To actually, embed your businesses into cloud technology. And as you may already know, Microsoft is actually moving a data center in Malaysia. The news is actually quite recent. So you would expect, the cloud adoption rate is actually increasing, right? As time pass by. So I would say these are what generally Daltos actually provide, in the sense that we're helping our clients to actually build their journey to enterprise AI.
I see. Okay, thanks, Sam, for your explanation about your company. So I think, yeah, we have quite some questions here. So we try to cover some of the questions. Yeah. So I think there are actually two questions from, I believe it's a student, okay, pre-U student, and also some student, I believe it's from the university. So from Harry and Wong, right? Okay, so they are actually interested to know actually what courses that can you suggest any courses if let's say they wish to embark into the data science field. So there are two situations here. For Harry is actually a pre-U student. So he's interested to join the data industry but haven't decided on any courses. So what is the suggested courses for him to enter the data industry? Yeah, maybe this question would be related back to one question, which is Wong is actually from a non-computer science background, like both of you, and then he also wished to actually embark into data science field. So, what is your suggestion for them? Yeah.
I think for Harry case, actually for his question, I would say that because he's still a student and since he is, he haven't decided on degree or course yet, it's really best for him to actually, look up online for any courses or any videos to further understand the differences between each, first of all, the data pillars that Sam has mentioned. Secondly, would be since it's about a degree and course, so the scope of any degree that they offers is actually quite wide as well. So sometimes, as the pillars that Sam has mentioned, they are actually complementing each other. So we can't actually just do data visualization without the data analytics or without the data engineering. So sometimes for degree courses, they actually covers a few pillars as well. So I think, since you are still making a decision, so I think it's best to actually spare some time to look up for any online courses, any free courses or any free videos to see and to actually follow along, to have the hands-on experience as well. Yeah, to actually find out if that is really what you want, and if that is the direction that you want to go for. Yeah, so I would say so I would say that actually for Harry's question. Yeah, and as for Wong's question, so if he actually has a non-computer science background, I mean, I would say just like me, I started off with all the basic courses. So like for data science wise, I started off with a basic course in using Python. And then also, I think other than that, usually a basic course would cover some of the fundamentals like for statistics and some of the models for us to actually kickstart to learn about data science. Yeah, so I think personally, I think it's any basic courses that we can look up online is actually a great start. So anything from you as well, from Sam?
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion, right? In terms of getting courses, free courses actually online, which is readily available in the public space, right? So just Google it up, and then I'm sure that there are a couple of free courses available, if not YouTube, right? Well, another suggestion I would say is that because the big data space is big, so I would say that have an idea of what you want or what you envision to be, right? So then throughout your research, you understand roughly, each and every space, what kind of value that you can bring to the market, right? And from there, you can see that, which, based on your character, which pillar will actually suits you the most, right? And from there, you can slowly, focus on one pillar on its own, right? Then from there, as you go into the market, when you are employed, you can actually explore more or outside of the pillar that you are focused on, right? Because like what Vanessa mentioned just now, you can't have data visualization without data engineering or data acquisition, right? Because that's where you get your data from. So that's how personally I expand my horizon by slowly, by focusing on one of the pillar and slowly expand outside from other pillars to other pillars actually. So yeah, I hope that answers your questions, Wong and Harry.
Yeah. So it's really important actually to do some research before you decide what you want to enter. So yeah, it's really important. I mean, okay. So for Vanessa, there is another question for you. So it's from Lai. So what are the skills that a finance person, so she's from finance, and can brush up or add value?
So I mean, I suppose this question will be coming back to within the data industry.
Yeah,
so
yeah, sure.
I think, so I would think, I mean, if your background is pure finance, like how I was, so definitely it's similar to Wong's case as well, is to really attend some courses, and then also to actually, because the pillars there, like data science or data visualizations, I think in both ways, that is how finance can actually brush up or add value to. Because us having the knowledge on finance is actually something very, I would say, it's already value added, but how can you add value on that? On top of that is through the knowledge on how you're able to utilize data. So from there, I think with that knowledge also, then you can actually think of what are your requirements in your own domain, and then how data is able to achieve your goal. Yeah. So if you are saying that, I mean, if you are saying that right now you're in finance and you actually your requirements in your job right now is to look into the future, you have to do forecasts, you have to do budgeting and all those, then maybe you might be interested in the data science field. Then from there, then you can actually look into courses that relates back to data science, and to actually slowly build a foundation from there on. Yeah. Or on the other hand, if you're actually more of a reporting, you have a group of stakeholders that you need to serve, that you need to report to, and you want to do things more effectively and something more efficiently for the business users. So I think data visualization could be another option for you to think of, and to basically add value to what you are currently doing right now. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thanks, Vanessa. Okay, so we have one last question before we go to the next part. Yeah, so it's from Tiru. So, what do you think about the job opportunity for data analytics or data science in Malaysia right now? Yeah, a good question. So, what is current situation in Malaysia for the data analytics and data science? So, Tiru is actually a computer science diploma graduate, and he's currently taking course in Kaggle. Yeah, Kaggle is a good website. Kaggle is a good website for you to explore, and Coursera. So is that sufficient to land a job? Okay, perhaps we will focus on the first question. Yeah. So what do you think of the job opportunity for data analytics and data science in Malaysia?
Well, I would say data science, data analytics job, right, is actually is only going to grow, right? Reason why is because data is actually growing, and we need more skill sets in the market. We need more resource in the market to actually come up with ideas to actually in terms of how can we monetize the data, and that's what the value of data science and data analytics is all about, is to monetize the data. And like I mentioned earlier, even though there are a lot of SMEs that are still not well versed with the data science space, right? But there are still enterprises that are out there which is already embracing this kind of transformation, right? For years already. So I would say there are market that requires resource for data science and data analytics out there. So all you have to do is just go to JobStreet, go to LinkedIn, search for it. I'm sure you can get and land a job.
Nice. Okay, cool. So yeah, just a Tiro is giving a good resource, which is a Kaggle and Coursera. So if let's say you are really interested, these are somewhere that you can actually search for a lot of use cases in the Kaggle and the course in the Coursera. Yeah. All right. So yeah, let's move to our next part. So yeah, just now, Vanessa and Sam, you have already shared about your challenges, and then you can answer quite a lot of questions, right? So you have shared about your technical challenges. So most of the challenges is a technical side, but then I'm actually quite interested about how about your emotional changes when you first start in the data industry. How do you feel when you first step into the industry? Yeah, maybe we can have Sam first for answering this question. Yeah, how do you feel?
Okay. Well, I would say it's kind of a mixed feeling. When I first started, have this idea of changing from mechanical engineering background to a new industry, right? I feel kind of excited in the sense that you get to see a new world, right? Exploring new possibilities with data, and then you're transforming your environment from machines and formulas to computers and coding, right? Which is a totally new perspective. And what really got me excited is that, because it's something new, and I'm actually quite excited to see, what I can achieve in this new landscape, right? So that's where the excitement and also the hype that I have when I started to change my career path. But on the other hand, I also feel kind of anxious in the sense that, it is a very strange environment. It's a very new environment that I'm entering. And definitely this industry is not new, right? There are actually, people that has better backgrounds, educational background in this particular field. And in some sense, that actually make me felt kind of like inferior when I started off the job, right? So that is kind of like a downside, whenever anyone would like to make a change. And I believe that even for the audience right now, if let's say you are really looking into this change, I'm sure that you have some sort of fear in terms of, what happens if it doesn't succeed? What happens if I'm not good enough? This kind of questions will actually pop up automatically. But my advice to you is that, you can transform this uneasiness from being a negative feeling to a force that allows you to work harder and go for the extra mile, right? So that you can actually catch up with your peers, you can actually catch up with the industry knowledge, and also make yourself valuable in the sense that you can actually provide value to the business and provide value to your team. So yeah, that is my take in terms of how I felt when I started off, transferring or switching my career. How about you, Vanessa?
Yeah. How about Vanessa?
Yeah, so I actually feel the same. I mean, to be honest, I feel the same as how Sam actually felt in the beginning as well. And on top of that is actually I think the biggest change for me is the way how I work. Yeah, so back then, I mean, back when I was doing audit, so I'm sure that because in audit itself, we always have to go back to, I mean, our Bible, the accounting standards and also the auditing standards. We have a set of methodology to do our things. Yeah. So, but that actually gave me, I mean, it forms my habit to always, whenever we are not sure of certain things, or whenever I have to start to do something for my work, I would actually want to refer something. I would always want to look for a reference. Like, is there a set of rules or steps that I should take in order for me to achieve something at my current work right now? So on top of that would be that back then when I was doing audit, so I mean, those sets of standards, those sets of accounting and auditing standards, I'm sure there was a group of professionals who actually had a thorough discussion and eventually, came out with these sets of standards to ensure the end goal, which is that the financial reports are true and fair. Yeah. So, but we can't ask questions like how is it being like that, or can we not follow the standard and do this thing the other way? So in audit, these questions are actually not really relevant or helpful in audit. But right now, in my current job right now, I'm able to actually, I have a safe space to do exploration, to be curious, and also to be creative. And then I also realized that there's no definite right or wrong. I mean, considering my current role as well as as a pre-sales, we act like more like a consultant in providing solutions to customers. So there's no definite right or wrong to a solution, but rather this solution actually able to help our clients to achieve their end goal. So I would say the goal for my current job as well is much more holistic to me compared to when I was back then was still in audit. So it's more of a change in a way of how I should work, compared to currently and compared to back then as well.
I see. Yeah, there's really you need to have some mindset changes, right, when you move into this industry. So yeah, okay, so we have one question from John. So yeah, John is just joining on. Welcome. So welcome everyone. So yeah, he's curious about, since the Vanessa also, you are from audit field. So is your experience fully convertible to the data field? I mean, he means that, with the years of experience recognized, or do you have to start over from the beginning? So I think this is actually one of the good question also. So with the background of, maybe we put this question also to Sam. So with the background of engineer for Sam and accounting or audit for Vanessa, how do you actually kind of stand out in the data industry? Or what are the advantages that your additional background can actually award you as an engineer or auditor? So maybe we have Vanessa first to answer the questions from John.
Okay. Yeah, so actually for me, so because my current role is more on a pre-sales, where it's much more customer facing, and like I mentioned earlier, it's about offering solutions. So the end goal of data analytics is also to utilize data and eventually able to help the key stakeholders or the key persons in an organization to make their decision and eventually bring business impact to the organization. Yeah, so I mean, back then, whenever we have to do audit, I mean, the first thing that we had to do in an audit project is to understand the business first. So I think through my audit experience, I was able to, get exposed to different kind of industry and able to understand what are the main KPIs for certain industry, or what are the, main requirement of some of the common practices for different industry. So with that kind of experience, with that kind of exposure, it actually helped me to better, understand right now when there's a new prospect or a new potential customer coming in for, inquiring for about a solution that we can offer to them. So from here is where I can able to think how my solution, how the solution right now that we are proposing is able to meet its ultimate goal. So I would say that in this context wise, my previous experience actually really helped me in my current position right now. Yeah. So, but if you are asking in terms of the technical perspective, I mean, I have to say that I really started all over again because I did not study anything about a programming language, or I did not have any knowledge on statistics or the logical thinking. But I think with that is that one is with time, and also with the chance that I actually able to get hands-on in the job, that really helped me to start building my knowledge. And since I'm able to practice it, it's also helped me to apply and remember. To learn faster as well. Yeah. So the answer to John's question is your previous experience is definitely not a waste. Yeah, and it can be actually topped up from with your with right now starting with data as well. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So
I totally agree with Vanessa, right? In a sense that, your experience actually will never go to waste, right? Even coming from engineering background, right? You can see that, through engineering courses, you actually train yourself to think logically and critically. And so that, it actually helps you to solve problems much more quicker. And I think the key point, what Vanessa has mentioned earlier on, is that the soft skill that you actually accumulate through your job experience is always going to be there. It's always going to be yours, right? And right now, transitioning to a different landscape, for example, the data space, requires you to learn a little bit more on the hard skill, right? But your soft skill is still relevant, and it's always going to be there to help you to maneuver through your projects, maneuver through your selling or whatnot. So to John, right, your question, and to the audience, I would actually say that don't be afraid to actually make the change, right? Don't be afraid that, I spent the last 5 years, the last 10 years in this space. Right now, if I were to make a change, everything's going to gone to waste, right? That's not the case, because your experience is always relevant, right? In your industry and in your field.
Yeah, I do agree. Especially now, actually, data has been actually diffused into a lot of the industries. So even in your current industry, you will be having the chance to deal with the data. So yeah, it's always relevant. Okay, thanks, Sam and Vanessa, for your sharing. So we have one more question from Tiru. So may I know what does a Quantetics Academy does and how it may help upcoming DNDS? So okay, so for answering this question, perhaps I will just answer it. So Quantetics Academy is actually a company that is under the same umbrella with the Quantetics SM PhD from where Vanessa is coming from. So we do provide trainings to all the enterprises and also governments. And also we do collaborate with the universities to provide the data related trainings. And we will starting to move into a secondary school level as well. So actually we do really help to provide some resources to the industry or the governments or the universities actually to help everyone in Malaysia or in the Southeast Asia to slowly move into the data analytics or data science industry. Yeah. All right. So if let's say you would like to search for more information about us, feel free to actually browse through our websites and follow our social media. We will be always having updates in social media and websites. Yeah. Thanks, Tiru, for your interest in us. Okay. So yeah. Sam and Vanessa, I really much appreciate the opportunity to invite you to share your thoughts that could be really helpful for our audiences. So before we end, I would like for you to close up with whatever is on your heart or in your mind. So what are the suggestions from you to the audience that would so for those who would like to actually make a career shift for them. So what is your suggestion to them?
Okay, so maybe I'll start first. So,
Yeah, sure.
Speaking of a career shift in general first, I think it's always always knowing why you want to make such a change. Yeah, and as for me is because what really drove me to make such a change in my career was that I really wanted, I wish I could actually create more values through data analytics. So especially when we are in this era where, data is just is going to continue to grow, and just like Sam mentioned, the cloud space is going to grow in the future, and everything is moving towards digital. And on the other hand is that I think a part of me is also thinking that I'm still young and I should really take the chance while I still can to actually do exploration. Yeah. So don't be afraid. And what you have actually gained up until now will really not gone to waste. And it's going to this change is going to just basically add more values to what you have now.
Yeah, thanks. So what about Sam?
Yeah, actually, I kind of agree with Vanessa, right, in terms of mentioning that, we're actually creating value through data analytics, and that's what what the data space is all about, right? It's to actually monetize your data, which is sitting inside your enterprise, right? So, there are actually a lot of opportunities within your organization, within your team, to actually able to embark yourself into this data analytics or data space, I would say, right? Because there are actually 4 pillars there. You can actually look into what opportunities that you have within your team, right? And from there, like I mentioned earlier, right, narrow the gap between what you know and what your team or an organization needs, right? So when we say about making a shift in your career, it's not necessarily referring to today I'm accountant, tomorrow I'm data scientist, right? Not necessarily that that is a shift, right? You can actually switch from an accountant, and maybe perhaps you can talk about how the data actually coming from the source, right? How does the general ledger is being prepared, right? Because from there you can audit the data source itself, and you can actually get more insights from the raw data, right? So my point here is that you can actually look internally from your own organization and from your team, right? In order for you to actually look for opportunities to switch from your current landscape, current zone, to include the data space into your career. So that's my advice to the audience.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, thanks Sam and Vanessa for your suggestion. So yeah, I do can't much agree than your suggestion. A career shift not only can be happen when you change a job, a career shift can also be happen when you embed data analytics into your current jobs, right? So
Yes.
Do not be afraid of making a change. Possibility is always there. Am I right? All right, so yeah, the time is so fast. Yeah, it's already 12. And thank you so much for being on the talk today. And a big thank to all of our audience for staying with us, taking your time staying with us. So please stay tuned. So for all the audience, please stay tuned for our next free talk in the Tea Time Data monthly talk series. So every month we will be having a free talk like this, or just a free talk. So please follow our social media to get the updates. You can always find the links to our social medias in the description box. So yeah, please do like, share, and subscribe our channel. So yeah, you can still post your questions to us, and have a nice day to everyone. Okay, so yeah, we have one last question from John Paul. So are there any openings in your company? Okay, maybe we can share our contacts with all of the audience. If let's say they have any questions, or they have any things to ask in the future, they can ask us. So perhaps so we have your contacts, right, for the for all the audience. So perhaps Sam, you can share your email address perhaps to the audience.
Sure. Maybe perhaps you can just email them.
Sure. Later, for all those who have already registered, we have your emails, so we will share our contacts. I mean, Sam contacts and Vanessa contacts to all of you. And then, if you have any questions, you can actually email them. Is it okay?
Yep. Feel free to reach out.
All right. Thank you so much, yeah, Sam and Vanessa, to have a great share. And thanks everyone for staying with us. So I do hope this session actually give you some ideas. If let's say you are going to make some changes, it's either a career shift into the data industry or embedded the data analytics into your current jobs. All right. So have a nice day to everyone. Thanks and cheers and bye. So see you in.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.